Okay, it looks like everyone's joined from the waiting room, so get started. So welcome everybody for today's ecosystem showcase series on smart and inclusive cities from Enrich in the USA. So we're going to be highlighting 4 ecosystems around the US: Atlanta, Austin, New York, Virginia. And so just a couple quick housekeeping notes before we get started. We are in a Zoom meeting, so please keep your mic muted if you're not talking, so there's no background noise. You are welcome to use the chat at any time and put any questions in the box that you, or put any chat that you might have throughout the session. We'll be responding. If you have any issues, you can also use the chat. Any issues with audio or connecting, just let us know there. And we'll be happy to answer you there. And one more session is being recorded, so just let everyone know we will be recording and posting the session later. So great, we'll go ahead and get started. So first, before we dive in to hear from our great ecosystem presenters, excuse me, I'm gonna just do a cover. We're gonna introduce you to Enrich in the USA just for a little bit. First, this is the agenda for the day. So right now we're doing our welcome and our overview from Enrich in the USA. After that, we're gonna have the discussion and the presentations from our 4 different ecosystems that we all have here. Again, all focusing on smart and inclusive cities. And then we're going to transition from that to our breakout rooms, which this is where all of the, if you've been selected as a startup company to pitch to one of our ecosystems, you've been notified already. And so at this point, when all the presentations are done, we'll be separating everybody and putting you all into your breakout rooms. And I'll go over some of the details, some of the specifics of that once we get past this first part of our presentation. But and then that will last, the breakout rooms and the pitches will last for the remaining portion of our session today. So just to give you an overview of the Enrich team that's here. So there's a number of people you'll be interacting with either in the breakout rooms or you'll hear present here. So we have a number of people from EAEC, the European American Enterprise Council, Incura, so Claire, so Blondine from EAEC, Claire from Incura, Jennifer. Oh, yeah, sorry, I should have paused there. So Jennifer from EAEC, if you're here, you can say hi and we'll have a there. I'm Jack Hinkle from MBIA. We also have Natalia from EAEC and Sebastian from EAEC, who's going to be talking in just a minute. So just a quick introduction to by the Horizon 2020. Really large and great research program. Over 7 billion euro funding over 7 years. There's a new all of Enrich in the USA is funded by Horizon 2020, and so we're very grateful to the European Commission and this project for enabling Enrich to happen. And so you can see the goals there for Horizon 2020 is creating a smart, sustainable, inclusive economic growth, creating jobs, removing barriers to innovation, bringing more ideas to the market, and developing research and investment. And we're hoping that Enrich meets all of those goals and furthers all of those goals. You can see the 9 partners here across Europe and the US that are involved in Enrich in the USA. A number of these partners are on the call today and you'll be interacting with, and a number work on a lot of other activities all involved with Enrich. And so you can see it's a great consortium doing a lot of great work to move innovation forward. So just at a real high level, the mission of the Enrich Network is to reinforce innovation, exchange, and commercialization across the Atlantic. So looking for ways to connect Europe to the US through collaborative programs, different kinds of curriculum, which is obviously changing with COVID and some of the travel restrictions. And that's what part of this initiative, this ecosystem showcase is. And soft landings. And again, we're going to be adapting to the world, but those are all still remain key parts of the network. Enrich is intended to be a sustainable network, so it'll continue after the grant mechanism, so it'll live well beyond the grant to continue to support European innovators, researchers, and stakeholders here in the US. And Enrich in the USA is only one of 3 Enrich networks. There's also Enrich in China and Enrich in Brazil. And so we'll be happy to share information about that if anyone is curious. But yeah, there's a number of Enrich networks looking to support European researchers and innovators to connect around the world. And Enrich is deep tech focused. So we focus on innovations. And today we're talking about smart city, but we focus on innovations with high growth potential and high impact potential. And one note about the stakeholders and people who are eligible for Enrich, it's not just EU member countries, it's also associate countries. So you can see a list here on the screen of the associate countries where people can also, if you're located there, you can also participate in Enrich services. And we target not just innovators, not just entrepreneurs, but also the ecosystems around them in Europe. So these are researchers, R&D institutes and labs, universities, clusters, so anyone in Europe involved in the research and innovation pipeline and looking to connect into the US market. And so, like I said, this program here is only one portion of Enrich. There's a number of other activities, some that target researchers, some that target startups, some that target ecosystems. And so you can see here at a real high level, the journey for European innovators, which are the target for this program. So we have a lot of informational products where you can learn about the US market, the research landscape from Europe without having to travel and connect in person in the US. We have a number of programs to help explore the US research innovation landscape through different ways of networking. And so we're experiencing a little bit of that today. And then that, as people move through this progression, there's opportunities to receive in-depth mentoring and in-depth training, in addition to soft landing opportunities in the US. And then at the end, there's opportunities to help find money for research, for commercialization and business development. And so like I said, each of these aspects has programs, services, or information through Enrich. You can find out more about this through the Enrich website, or anybody connected here can be more than happy to help go through some more details and connect after this. So with this, I'm going to hand it over to Sebastian.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me well? Yes? So, okay, just want to make sure. So thank you everyone for participating. We have a great audience and great attendance. Thank you for the speaker for participating also. Here we have one slide presenting a little what we've been working on for the last 3 years, working on soft landing opportunities and a lot with universities. So you can see the list of our centers and our hubs and the connection with the universities, the one we've been working with or the one we are planning to work with. So you see that the goal is about 8 to 10 sites and working closely with those universities. We can use universities that can be research universities or universities connected with SBDC. And we create a joint program, joint curriculum, and use joint platforms to facilitate the soft landing of the EU tech entrepreneurs. So these are the different locations. The one in red are really the one participating today. So 4 out of the 8, 10 that we are planning to put in place for 2021, knowing that we have a little lapse in 2020 because of COVID. So that's what the slide is presenting here. We can go to the next slide. With COVID, we have even more activities, funny enough, than what we had initially planned in terms of physical activities. So a lot of online activities, like those webinars we're putting in place. So we just did one on Tech for Good. Today, Smart Cities. The next one is going to be on agri-food and technology. So that's the series we're putting together. And then you see all the other events we're putting together for researchers, like tech and distance learning, some matchmaking events that we are participating, or we're helping European tech companies and US companies to participate in to facilitate matchmaking. And so you can see we end with NIH Technology Showcase, working with NIH in September, and that platform that's been put together for against coronavirus with about 1,000 accounts working together between the US and Europe, and we are part of that initiative. So that's what we've been working on. You can always look at the different sites. Obviously, we share the PowerPoints. Thank you. And now we have, again, all the participants, you have all the contact information. And I will leave maybe Jacques or Rondine if you want to take the lead. Thank you again. Thank you all for participating.
Right. Yep. Thanks, Sebastian. Start with you again. So from here, we're going to move on to the next portion where we're going to hear from the ecosystems that we all have highlighted here to talk about the smart city industry and get an overview of the opportunities that exist for these ecosystems for European innovators and researchers, entrepreneurs. So the way we've arranged this, we have a couple questions that we asked each of the ecosystems, and so we're going to go through question 1 and then hear from all of our excellent speakers, and then do question 2 and 3. And so just so you can get a sense here, these are all the speakers that are going to be presenting today across to answer each of the different questions that talk through the ecosystem, or each ecosystem. So our first question, the first thing that we know a lot of the participants listening are curious and interested in is kind of how do you position your ecosystem in the smart city industry? So just help describe some of the verticals, some of the key players and opportunities. What are some of the key pieces that a European researcher, innovator should know if they're looking to connect with your ecosystem here in the US? And so we're going to start with Atlanta with Nathan Regan.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome from the sunny city of Atlanta, Georgia. We're thrilled to be a part of this conversation today, and really how timely it is. I think Atlanta is a spot in the United States that's certainly full of opportunity when we talk about smart city technology. And just before I get too deep in, my name is Nathan Regan. It's so good to see some familiar faces. Natalie, I see you're on today. It's good to see you. I'm the Senior Vice President for Economic Development at Invest Atlanta. Invest Atlanta is the City of Atlanta's economic redevelopment agency. So we cover everything from small business lending to national and international business attraction. Smart city technology falls under some of the business attraction that we do. We work on innovation, entrepreneurship, and the technology ecosystem. We call it our TIE sector. And more importantly, we work in close collaboration with all of our partners in the City of Atlanta. So the Metro Atlanta Chamber, we work closely with the Georgia Department of Economic Development, and all of our local partners running economic development agencies. So thrilled to be here today. You see some of my bio here. I certainly have a very keen interest in global business and foreign direct investment. And I think Atlanta is certainly an amazing place to come and do business. And we'll be talking about that here in a minute. So. Yeah, so let me just go right into it. So the City of Atlanta is only one portion of a larger Metro Atlanta area. We have almost over 8 million people by 2040. So certainly we need to figure out in the city, how do we do more with less? Next slide. Oh, there we go. So one thing that I want to mention here, what I really think is very interesting, and certainly I think we saw some of the previous partners here in Atlanta, is the Georgia Tech. They are certainly doing a lot in AI and are leading the conversations on IoT and smart cities. So we're very excited that our university system plays such a large role in driving this conversation. So it takes all of us together to really make the ecosystem work. Next slide. So I really want to highlight some areas where we think that there are opportunities and where some of you might really see opportunities for your work. The Ray is certainly an area where we think the future of IoT and sustainable technologies will be. You will see all of these initiatives that we have going on. This is 18 miles of West Georgia's I-85 and land that are really driving this sort of this sort of automotive technology. Next slide. Another area that I really want to highlight is this Curiosity Lab. It's really an amazing space up in Peachtree Corners. If you're not from Atlanta, you will know that Peachtree Corners is a little bit outside of the city, but it is one of our premier tech parks, and it is certainly a state-of-the-art living laboratory, and it's really run by Sprint's 5G and IoT technology. So it's an excellent test ground for different types of technologies right outside of the city. Next slide. Yeah, so I really wanted to include this slide because it's not just the city of Atlanta. I mean, the city of Atlanta is pretty compact, but it's actually the metro area that really helps drive a lot of our technology. So you'll see in the city of Chamblee and also in Gwinnett County that we have a lot of different things going on, not just inside the city, but in our metro area. And these are around autonomous vehicles and connected vehicle technology. And we have the space to do that outside of the city. And certainly the city of Chamblee and Gwinnett are great proving grounds for this type of technology. We recently won a contract with Ollie to do some self-driving technology up in the northern part of the city. And so that's included in part of this. Next slide.
Nathan, you have about 1 minute to conclude before we travel south to Austin.
All right, we'll go through the next slide then to the next one. Yeah, so supply chain is an area where we're actually working very closely with our partners at Georgia Pacific. You can go through to the next slide. Sorry. I think this is really important. The city of Atlanta, which is obviously my agency, we've committed to 100% clean energy use by 2035. I think this is going to make us a real leader in clean energy technology and IoT. We will use IoT to be able to get there. And certainly, you know, one thing that I want to mention is like all of our corporate partners here in the city of Atlanta, and we are the third largest corporate headquarters in the country. All of those partners commit to being LEED certified. So you see immediate opportunities with those corporate partners in the city of Atlanta to be able to implement new IoTs. Next slide. Yeah, I think this is really awesome. What we see in the city of Atlanta is that we have almost 75% of our workforce in the next 5 years is going to be made up of millennials. A lot of that is driven from our university ecosystem, Georgia State, Georgia Tech, Emory. We have a ton of universities that are really driving this sort of IoT and smart city technology. So that's the point I wanted to say here. Next. Yeah, and this is really key. And this is one of the most important I would like to say. This past year, we were in Barcelona for the Smart City Expo, and we were then notified that the city of Atlanta would be hosting the only US edition of Smart Cities in the United States. Obviously, COVID has really proven to be very difficult for us to implement that, but we're very proud of that. And we know that in the future, we're going to be working more closely with Smart City in the city of Atlanta. Next slide. And that's it. I hope I got it under the time allotment, but I just wanted to reiterate that the city of Atlanta is an amazing place to come and do business, work, and play. And that we are doing things in the city that are really advancing smart cities technology and IoT. Glad to answer any questions as you guys might want.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nathan. I appreciate it.
Yep.
With a lot of information, and we will share slides with folks. So
awesome.
Slides will make sure that they.
Sorry to be a time hog there, Jack.
No problem at all. A lot of great information, so it was all worth it. So next up, we're going to be talking with Austin. So the same question: what are some of the verticals, the smart city verticals that exist in the city of Austin? And so we're going to hear from Gregory Pogue with the University of Texas at Austin. Gregory.
Thank you very much for allowing Austin, Texas to be represented. I don't think I need to say much more than Austin is one of the most desirable places to live and be in the United States and many times in the world. It's a vibrant city, a young city, and an innovative city. I thought I would tell this more in a story form than I would just by a list. In 2001, in the middle of the dot bomb era, which basically collapsed Austin's first run at becoming a tech city, the city of Austin and the University of Texas at Austin determined to start a new experiment through the Austin Technology Incubator, asking the question, how can the jobs of the future be built? This was a really difficult time for Austin. And I really call it to your attention because right now in the middle of the pandemic, we need to remember that what we do in an economic slump is often what powers economic growth for decades to come. So what was the experiment? The idea was to invest in clean and smart technologies associated with new energy management usage forms. This created one of the first, if not the first, clean technology incubator in America in 2001. This incubator has incubated hundreds of companies in the Austin, Texas area. And indeed, it's borne fruit. In 2013, over 20,000 Austinites were in the clean technology space, and they supported an industry of over $2.5 billion a year. So therefore, this investment has really paid off many times over. You ask, where is the focus? Well, clearly we're in Texas. So energy production is very important. We are the leading producer of petroleum and natural gas products, yes, but we're also the leading state for wind energy. We're one of the leading states in photovoltaic energy. And the University of Texas at Austin is a leading university in energy research. We also, beyond that, have focused a great deal on energy storage, as well as energy distribution and usage, water use and conservation, how the Internet of Things applies to real-time management of these aspects, and then integration into mobility, as well as how big data and information technology, which is really a sweet spot for Austin, Texas, can impact health, cultural access, learning, as well as safety. Now, at ATI, in the Clean Energy Incubator, a really unique project was built out called the Pecan Street Project. This was a proof of concept accelerator for companies and technologies to actually place technologies to work in actual grids to find out what happens with regards to energy and water challenges using urban, household, commercial, and other models for consumption. This idea of proof of concept laboratories at scale have been expanded with the Pike Powers Lab for Sustainable Living, as well as the Smart Second Street domain of our city, where we have entire parts of the city built around smart technologies and readouts to allow big data to make better decisions. So this combination of clean energy, the Pecan Street Project, and other proof of concept labs have linked up with other accelerators that Kevin will be representing and talking, as well as others in town, to really provide startups in Austin pretty remarkable access to capital, mentorship, and proof of concept data, which allows them to not just explore technology, but prove technology. Some of the key areas that we focus in, again, really rely on the technology focus of Austin, Texas, which really links into advanced materials, energy efficiency software and systems, improved energy storage, as we have last year, a Nobel Prize winner in the area of lithium-ion batteries, wastewater management and treatment, as well as new transportation systems. We offer several types of business plan competitions throughout the state of Texas and in Austin to allow clean technology and smart technology companies find initial capital to work here. So this smart city energy network has grown really from just being something between the city and the university to now involving the entirety of the ecosystem here. It involves our State Energy Conservation Office, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, CleanTech's EarthX Incubate Energy Network, and I can keep going on and on. Further, the private sector has jumped in to really support these efforts, providing both startup funds as well as collaborations. So this is, I hope you see that in Austin, Texas, this creates both a bottom-up method where you're seeing incubation, accelerators, and organizations supporting this, but also the city of Austin, which adopted in 2017 a strategic plan for smart city achievement. So this is going to be this is a great city to really consider and engage in the smart city environment. Hope that was a useful introduction.
Perfect, thank you, Greg. We're gonna move to Northeast, to New York, with Mark, who's gonna present us the smart city verticals more on the state level. Mark, It's yours. You have 5 minutes.
So you may have Mark or you may have Erin.
Oh, okay.
I'm on. Hi,
Okay.
Mark Alessi. I'm the Executive Director of the Business Incubator Association of New York State. We are a trade association of over 100 incubators from across New York State. And a number of our incubators are specifically focused on the Smart Cities program. So Bianis, here in New York State, the state has recently launched an initiative for smart cities. I'm putting it into the chat right now. And that program will fund startups and pilot projects with a number of municipalities across New York State. We've been tasked with helping facilitate those partnerships and introducing companies to those municipalities to flush out their proposals. And the state will be funding and providing the funding to the cities within New York State to buy some of those products and pilot some of those products. So we are looking forward to welcoming companies here to New York State and helping them through the state process. Additionally, New York City has invested a good deal of money and has similar programs to the state to allow for startups to, again, pilot their smart cities initiatives, both with New York City and with a number of the utilities and large Fortune 500s throughout New York City. One of my colleagues was looking to join us on the call. Don't think he's gonna be able to make it, but he is the vice chair of Bianis, and he runs NYU's Urban Futures Labs. And his name is Steve Kayun. And they are really focused on both the New York City and the New York State programs. That's it from Bianis. Look forward to talking to you.
Thank you so much. We're going to move still on the East Coast south to the last but not least ecosystem, Greater Washington, D.C., Virginia State. So I'm invite Bob and Giselle to join us. Starting with Bob. I see you, Bob.
You may be muted.
He is muted, yeah.
You are. Okay, can you hear me?
Hey, Bob. Yes.
Oh, good. Thank you. I'm Bob Mazur. I'm one of the founders of Smart City Works. Oh, hi, Giselle. I see her now. Thank you for having us. We started about 5 years ago as an accelerator. Actually, we call ourselves an actuator to take startups from, early in their gestation period up to Series A. And we recognized at the beginning that we had to have a rich ecosystem, particularly for smart cities, because the one good thing and one bad thing is everybody knows the word smart cities, but everybody has a different definition. So it's sort of a broad stroke. Our focus is on 4 or 5 verticals, including transportation, energy, water, smart structures, IoT, and resilience. When we started, as I said, we needed to have this rich ecosystem. So we have several different verticals in this ecosystem. They include universities like George Mason, which Giselle will talk about in a minute, Virginia Tech. What I think is unique about it is, unlike Texas, actually in Atlanta, we have multiple states around the DC area and huge numbers of government entities. We have as partners most of the counties in this region in the Virginia side of the Potomac, including Fairfax County, Arlington County, Prince William County, and so on. And what we do is we have this actuator program. We bring in 5 to 7 companies. They stay with us for 3 months. And to give you an example, you'll hear from one of the companies today who just graduated from our program this week called Curve Energy, and I'll let Peter talk about what they do. We have another energy company called DataQuip, which measures energy use in buildings, and then recommends ways to improve the energy use. A company called Moja Wallet, which is e-payments for transportation. Acular from Slovakia, which does augmented reality for the construction industry. And Fend, which is a cybersecurity for critical infrastructure. And those are just example of the 30 companies that work in, that would come through our program. We also have a Living Labs program with all the counties and local jurisdictions. And a large mentorship. We probably had 50 people come in and talk to our companies in this last program. So why don't I turn it over to Giselle so she can follow on.
Actually, Bob, I added those 2 slides. Could you tell us about your program? And there is a link in the next slide.
Do I do it now or?
Yeah, you can do it now, and we can move to the next slide as well.
Okay.
Can
you share the screen?
So we see your slide. We see the call for innovator.
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about it.
Right. So our next cohort will start in probably October 1. For the first time, we're going to do it all virtually. The last cohort was going on when COVID hit, so we did the first half in person and the second half virtually. We're looking for companies in urban tech. We have an interest in COVID-19 recovery, decarbonization, and any smart city related startups. I can be glad to
Next slide back, please, if you can. Oh, perfect. Sorry. We'll send the link. We'll send the link.
You could send the link, but we're actively looking for companies to participate, and you can do it from your home for the first time, which I thought was pretty effective in our last cohort that ended last week. So with that, I'll turn it over to Giselle.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Blandine.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. My name is Giselle Stolz. I'm the director of the Mason Entrepreneurship Center. There are 3 centers in Northern Virginia. Just a little bit about myself. So I'm actually dual national, French and American. So I can understand both Europeans and I can also understand Americans. And I have worked in the US and I've worked in Europe and I've worked in the Middle East and in Asia. So, and I did business development in all of these different places. So I really understand what business development and international business development is about. So this is why I'd like to tout the Washington, DC area. It's not just Virginia, actually. I would like to, it's not, as Bob mentioned, there's also Maryland just across the river, and then there's also Washington, DC. And this is really a great region if you're a European company, because one of the big advantages that we have is that we have many great airports. And if you're traveling back and forth to Europe, don't neglect transportation and easy access to international airports. So Dulles is just like 20 minutes away from the MEC, for example. So a little bit about me. So as I mentioned, I lived a little bit everywhere, and I also mentioned that I was also working for a Swiss university, EPFL, École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, which is a just science and technology university, where I helped small startups there, including in tech startups. And if you want to succeed, I think it's also very useful to have a good soft landing space. And this is where I would really advise all of these European companies, just pick your space and then pick a good space that will be a good partner, because they can open doors for you. And this is what the MEC does, is that because we are connected to the largest public university in the state of Virginia. We are now a Research One university. We do a lot of research in many different fields, but because of the advent of Amazon coming into the area, where we're going to be a partner with the other universities and with all the the county developments, we are going to be very active in cybersecurity and data analytics, telecommunications, secure telecommunications, computer science, and all these are corollary to the smart cities. So one of the one of the questions that is asked is, what are some of our verticals? And because of the nature of DC and because of the nature of government, and because we're based in Northern Virginia, actually a lot of the startups and the small businesses that are based in our centers are actually very active in cybersecurity, secure telecommunications, and computer science and all that. So that's one of the big pluses that we have. Another big plus, pre-COVID anyway, it was a very big problem for startups and small businesses to hire people. And because we have 37,000 students and we work very actively with the career services, it was actually one of the big benefits that we offered is to be able to recruit good students straight out of college or straight out of graduate school or straight out of PhD programs. So that's really one of the big pluses that we have, is that we have a good soft landing space where we can do all the introductions. We know the people, we have the mentors, we know the funders, we know the banks, but we can also funnel the other side is, help you recruit the right people. So this is in a nutshell what we do and how we can help. So in total, between the three incubators, we have about 220 companies representing many different types of industries, but a lot of them in science and technology as well. That's it for me.
Thank you, Giselle. So we're going to move to the next question. So you're going to hear a little about, from those 4 ecosystems, a little bit more in detail, how they help international startup, what are the funds and the pilots you could do in those 4 ecosystems. So we're going to go back to Atlanta with Richard, actually Atlanta and Georgia in general with Richard.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Blondine. As you mentioned, I'm representing Atlanta, but not just Atlanta, the entire state of Georgia. The University of Georgia Small Business Development Center has 17 offices across the state and 55 MBA business consultants in those offices to assist businesses, business startups, in a lot of instances where incubators may fall short. We're there to build up general business knowledge, help them with funding, projections, business planning. And as most startups, especially tech startups, are hungry little babies for money, looking for funding, we assist with preparation of those projections and those business plans so they can apply for grants, they can apply for funding, or they can work with private investors. But we also provide counsel as to what type of investment might be more beneficial versus others and what types of investment structures. Because a lot of times people that write big checks sometimes offer investment structures that are more beneficial to them than to the entrepreneur. So we try to provide balance for our clients. Everything that we do with our clients is confidential. We represent only the client. We don't have any mixed interests with any funding sources. So when someone comes to the University of Georgia Small Business Development Center for assistance, we work only for them and under a confidentiality agreement. So there's no limitation as to the sharing of information, which can sometimes be a hindrance. We are pretty much agnostic as to funding sources. We work with, through the 17 offices, we usually provide over $100 million or find $100 million of funding per year for small businesses within the state of Georgia. And that's a combination of debt and equity. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Those are the services of the University of Georgia.
Thank you so much, Richard. And I want to say that the Small Business Development Center network in the US is so powerful. A lot of our soft landing companies are using it, and I hope there will be more. So thank you. We're gonna move south to Austin. Kevin. Oh yeah, Nakia, I don't think had time to, was available to join us right now. He's joining any minute, but he will join as a judge later on. So Kevin, it's your turn.
Sounds great. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're at. I'm Kevin Cole. I'm founder and CEO of Tech Ranch in Austin, Texas. One of the things that I think is really important about this whole process is in my first startup's case of 25 years ago, my first dollars earned from my first startup were actually pesos in Mexico. So although I was based in Austin, this idea about building bridges across, across countries is very, very important. It's also very core to why Tech Ranch is organized in the way that it is. Just giving you kind of an idea of what we are and who we are and what we do. So Tech Ranch was selected in the top 3 social impact incubators in the US, selected by UBI Global out of Sweden for that acknowledgement. The whole reason I started Tech Ranch was I kind of believe that all the world's problems have already been solved. It's just a matter of finding the solution one part of the world and applying it to the need in another part of the world. And instead of doing that around charity, let's do it around creating markets, right? And it ends up solving the problem. We've worked in 22 different countries over the last 4 years, where I personally was in those countries over the last 4 years to show our commitment to this whole process, and built a number of formal country bridges. You can see those in the upper right portion of this. A lot of different smart city areas recognized. The thing that we do is, so there's this one thing about Austin that makes Austin, Austin. And I'll paste an article about Austin, about how Austin was poised to overtake Silicon Valley this year before the virus happened, on just the amount of funding and the amount of activity. From a standpoint of in the United States, Silicon Valley usually gets most of the focus, and nothing against Silicon Valley. I worked for Steve Jobs early in my career, and obviously had a really good experience on being at a startup called Next. And there's certain things you can do only out there in the world, and that it's interesting. But one of the things I like about Austin that informs the investment market here is we kind of emerged out of the hippie culture of music. You've probably heard of Janis Joplin as an example. This is where a lot of her early start in happened. And so entrepreneurs like me that came to engineering school here in Austin at UT, at the University of Texas, fell in love with the city. And in my case, I moved away and kept on coming back. And I think a lot of what I want to tell you about Austin, and the whole reason that Austin's an interesting place to look at, is this culture that emerged from the hippie past of Austin is really what's made it such a entrepreneurial powerhouse. This is why you see, guys like Elon Musk open up their next, or they just announced the next Tesla manufacturing location is going to be right outside of Austin. From a standpoint of investors, Tech Ranch has helped foreign entrepreneurs connect with everything from a lot of industry engagement. Austin is really good because of this kind of friendly culture about engaging with industry. Most of my career, as an example, instead of going the normal route of venture capital, a lot of what I personally got involved in my companies that I started was tied to industry. And the industry in the local area, Austin happens to be, in Texas, there are 6 of the top 20 growth cities in the United States. Austin happens to be right in the middle of all of them. Austin with Dallas in the north, Houston to the southeast, San Antonio to the south, and then El Paso to the west. It's right in the middle of all of that. And so you have a lot of access to industry in a very interesting way. But also the angel groups, we have 3 really strong angel groups, especially SWAN, which is Southwest Angel Investment Group. They focus on impact businesses. CTAN, which is one of the largest angel groups in the United States, which is more general business. as well as a couple of other ones. Even the Houston Angel Network has funded a lot of Austin-based businesses. There's a lot of oil money that gets involved from that part of the world. There are a lot of VC groups and private equity as well. I know we're short on time today, so I will paste a couple of different links into the chat so you can kind of get a sense of a few other little ideas about Austin. And just know that we're here to be a part of the process. A lot of what Tech Ranch does is we try to act like almost like a talent agency to help you get connected to the right type of locations and the right type of groups, both in Texas and in other parts of the world. With that, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kevin, for joining us. So we're moving back to New York. So Steve was maybe on the phone, but cannot speak. I would like to invite our colleague and friend and specialist in smart city, Natalia, to tell us a little bit more about New York ecosystem. Thank you, Natalia, for joining us.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, and
Great.
we can see you.
So, happy to show you what we're doing. No, but you know, honestly, it's been really amazing the work that Blandine and Sebastian have been doing, especially with Enrich, and bringing into context the key points of smart cities. Why is this important? Because I think New York is an extreme example, a great example of a smart city. It's a city that has had tremendous history, tremendous innovation, and every decade, and I have to remind people that we're a very young country, and that's why it's so important for us to have amazing bridges and amazing ties with the EU, because you know, our immigration has made us as a stronger country, has made us you know, just richer in so many ways, from ideas and being able to figure out how to help not only our entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs all over the world to be able to innovate and grow and start. I'm so excited because, you know, 20% of our companies in the last 20 years have been started by immigrants. And the key point here is you know, everyone comes in different forms, but when it comes to coming to universities, I really love the SBDC program. I was a SBA administrator, so for me, the SBDC program is one of my favorite programs on how do we commercialize great ideas from our students. You know, everything starts either in a dorm room or a garage or a kitchen table, and we're here to be able to facilitate that. You know, New York, let's look at this from a pandemic perspective. When we think about innovation, we have to think about necessity. How do we look at what has happened in the last 6 months for New York? Well, New York actually has, not only New York State, but New York City has had, you know, a lot of ideas. They have, I think, one of the largest health innovation labs. They have been, you know, since when I worked in the Obama administration, one of the key incubators that actually presented a lot of great ideas when we're talking about Affordable Care Act and ways to capacitate people to have a better healthcare system. So cities, you know, bring that, right? Before there were nation states, before there were countries, cities always were the key point. Were the ones who actually, you know, we're talking about locally how to bring the citizen to the center. And the citizen to the center in the next decade is going to be key. How do we bring the needs of citizens and infrastructure? How do we bring ideas that really build on what the citizen needs? So I'm so excited to have, you know, Bob Mazer from Smart City Works. I'm on his board. And I'm so happy to hear Nathan talk about Atlanta. And Kevin, thank you so much for your points on Austin, Texas. My parents live nearby. So I think that when we talk about how we design cities, how we bring innovation, how we bring ideas, it is about building a bridge, and it's about building that capacity between, you know, older and younger countries, right? So older and younger generations. We have to be so respectful and welcoming of younger generations and companies that want to do something new and be open to that. So I'm very excited to be here. I'm very excited about, and I know Blondine for many years, and I've been on this for a while. And you know, our SBIR program and our SBIC program have been partners with many of the programs in the EU. So we welcome you with open arms. We welcome you in every way possible. So please expect, you know, these amazing cities that we just talked about and were represented here today to be there for you. This is one of the best things about America is that we welcome you. So thank you so much for being able to be here today.
Thank you, Natalia, and for speaking up on behalf of New York City. Later, Natalia will go south and join Washington, D.C. room. But as she knows all the ecosystem, we wanted her to share also a bit about New York. Thank you. And last but not least, I would like to invite our dear friends and partners, DC Archangels, Dan and Randy. Can you tell us a little bit what's happening in Virginia and Greater Washington, D.C.? It's very exciting times.
Hi. How are you? Morning, afternoon. Nice to see everybody.
Hi, we can see you and we can hear you. Dan, you're a bit far.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you, Blondine. We're very happy to be here. We've actually made some contacts with our Smart City Guide here in the Reston area. Randy and I have been running this operation over here for about 10 years. I come out of a background of DC and what have you, Randy, so learned the ropes pretty well at this point. You tell from our background. We've been in, it's our 10th year here in the DC area. I don't see my face, by the way. Am I on? I don't know. Yeah, there I am. Okay, I didn't see myself. Okay. I saw you. I thought, that's nice. I could see Blondine. Yeah, so we've been, hold on a second. I forgot to clip on my microphone. Could you hear me? I bet you didn't even hear me.
That's better.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, we've been here 10 years. We've looked, Randy and I have looked at thousands of companies. We've had about 800% to our group. And we look at a lot of early stage stuff. We work with a lot of the universities. We haven't had a chance to work closely with George Mason, but we have had a good bit of people come from GW. And one of the things about investors is that people tend to think they're all about money, but the fact is DC is different. We have an amazing amount of talent. We've got people in our group, doctors there, and various people. They're experts in devices, so they invest in devices. The experts in software. We got a lot of people invest in molecules. We've got people that have PhDs in pharmaceuticals. They invest in this kind of stuff. We have, in fact, in our group, we have probably the equivalent of a university brain trust in here. So we have an opportunity then. Enterprise software, even retail foods. We've got some people who made money in that who are really good at it. Robotics, construction technology, alternative energy. Randy can probably give you some other examples. So we've looked at that many companies. Our turnaround time on or at least on we typically look at late seed stage, early A round stuff. Occasionally we'll get one a little further along. We got a couple of broker dealers we operate with. So let's see. Randy, anything else that I left out?
No, I think that handles. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that covers most of the type of things we do, but we also do workshops and training programs that are geared towards entrepreneurs and investors. One of the big gaps that we see so often of entrepreneurs and even investors is that they don't know what our investors looking for. As good as so much is out there in terms of incubators, accelerators, actuators, government programs, and university programs and things, we still see a huge gap in understanding what investors are really looking at. And so that's one of the things we strive to do in our workshops, is teach from the viewpoint of an investor what you need to know.
Mm-hmm. And another thing about our investors is that the investment cycle starts with usually a small investment, anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 in a company, and that goes on, and that will stay for a while until the company proves itself out. We're, like I said, we're late seed, early A round, in which case, at that point in time, the investors in will go back and bring in the rest of the capital. So if you're in the technology area, you need to understand what the asset value is of your technology. If you don't know what that is, and let me tell you, do not hire a lawyer to do it. They'll charge you a lot of money. What you need to do is to go out on Google, my favorite research spot, and look it up. There's data out there. So find out what your asset value is. Then apply that asset value to what you're trying to do in the marketplace. Then apply it to where the marketplace is. And then when you begin talking to our investors, like I said, many of these people have PhDs in these technical areas. They've made their money in it. When you're talking to them, you're talking their language. So what I suggest for companies that are coming to the United States, or even from across the United States over here to DC, make sure you know how to get connected with people. You need to understand not just the people from the university or the government, or I have nothing wrong with SBDCs, anything like that. All of this stuff is great. I used to do a lot of that stuff many years ago. And I started the Oklahoma Incubator Association many years ago, that kind of stuff. So it's not, these are all great stuff, but you gotta have the right kind of capital connections, which is you gotta know the right people with the right technology and what they're interested in, and you've gotta be tightly focused, as opposed to applying for a government grant. That's just two different entirely. So we're happy to look at everybody. Anybody wants to come over, talk to us, love to talk to you. And Blondine will testify to that.
Thank you so much. You have a busy schedule just after. So to conclude, I hope you prepared your questions for your room, you know, when you're going to present. Jack, could you go next slide? So, so the next steps, you've been selected and divided in the 4 different rooms. You're going to present, you know, your pitch. We will give you the access so you can share your screen. Don't spend too much time describing all your features. You know, you really take that opportunity to have feedback from all our speakers, from the different ecosystem, understanding if that city, that region is good for you. So please make sure to take time to ask questions. It's rare that you can navigate and have such a overview of the United States in one vertical. So thank you all our speakers. I know it's a very difficult exercise to present in a few minutes a whole state or a whole city. But it's been such a great pleasure. So Jack, is there any things for the transition?
No, so the only, just about 30 seconds of instruction here. So you'll be, if you're an entrepreneur, you'll be placed in your room directly. If you're an ecosystem member, you'll be automatically taken to the room. We have a couple entrepreneurs presenting to 2 rooms. So you'll go to the room you're presenting in first right now. And then at some point you'll see me pop in the room and send you a message about 10 minutes before you present to your second room. So I'll move you manually to the second room.
And I invite all the judges to open their evaluation sheet. You have the link or the Excel document we sent. And for the entrepreneurs, remember, you're going to be judged on overall flow, originality, vision, impact, and team. And the winner per ecosystem will win 500 euros. Hopefully it will be used for you to take a plane and visit us once we can travel again. So thank you, everyone. and enjoy your room. I'm going to Atlanta. We have Jennifer that we haven't seen yet from our team, who is going to represent New York. Jack will help us coordinate. Natalia will be in Washington, D.C., and Sebastian in Austin. So Enrich team is here to also help you navigate if you have any issues. Thank you, everyone.